Alright, I'm installing my Switch Pro SP9100. It's basically just, instead of relays, it's a MOSFET thing that does the switching for you. Granted, my engine bay looks a little different than most people's. The directions say to mount, it says to mount this guy vertically. I guess they mean like this, or like this, or like this. They don't want you to set it like this. They don't want any kind of water collecting up there. Makes sense. Not sure why you can't do that. Whatever. I would normally probably suggest going around the battery for this kind of install, but the reason I'm not is because I'm going to go to dual batteries after a while, and I'm not sure exactly where that's going to end up sticking up. Sticking up height wise. So I'm not going to do that. Over here I have the intake, and also there's the turbo over there. I really don't want to run this around anything that's too hot. I'm afraid that this whole setup might be a little warm for it, so I'm going to avoid that. Plus, I mean, there's just not a lot of room. I'd have to mount it somehow to this or something. I don't think that'd be a very great sturdy mount. I could do something here if I eliminated this guy, which I really should do. I just don't want to have to get into the wiring that in depth. Though one day I may. If I eliminated this box, I'd probably put it in this area. You might be able to get away with putting it on top. I'm just afraid that I think that I use this as my guide. I don't like to go above that, and I'm afraid that that would end up being a problem with clearance. I'm going to avoid now also Switch Pros, they say don't go on the back of the firewall around where it's hot and everything, especially since I got the EGR here, an EGR valve. It's going to be extra hot, I'm pretty sure. So I don't want to put it there. I know some of the other switches setups that are similar, they do mount it up here. It's probably fine if that's what they suggest, and whatever switch setup you got, do it. But on this setup, I don't know that that's the right call, so I'm not going to do that. And some of these places, I mean, I guess I could fit it in around here somewhere. It just seemed like it was a little too difficult, so I'm going to make a new wiring harness to run to the battery. And basically what I did, now these are terrible, I know, but something quick I could do. I'll polish them up later once I know that I like this location. Pretty simple setup. I just made a couple L brackets, something like that. It's gonna sit up. I'm gonna just run my wiring to this, and then go through my firewall over here, and then run a couple of the areas straight to the battery. Not sure where it says on there, but like I said, all I'm going to do, this is just a random step-by-step process as I have some time. I'm going to go ahead and mount this guy, and then I'm going to try to run some wiring through some of the other, what is it called, wiring loom? There we go. Try to help with some light. But I'm going to try to run it through there, and then run that over to the battery. That's what I'm gonna do now, and then so whenever I can get some other time together, I'm going to mount everything else. Also, where I drilled through my inner fender stuff, I am going to put a little paint on there. And like I guess I mentioned earlier, this setup may not work for everybody else. I forgot what was here. Maybe something to do with cruise control here, but I might be wrong. Okay, got some updates. Getting the Switch Pro 9100. That's my my bracket, whatever you want to call that. I've ran a positive wire all the way around. I had to make a new one. It went down around. We're gonna see if this works. It's not supposed to be more than a couple feet, so we'll see. I've also got the ground also extended, but I haven't put a terminal on it and put it to the negative terminal either yet. I just soldered it together and put some kind of heat shrink over it. I can't even find it here. Here we go. Yeah. So got that guy in there. You can see how this ended up turning out. Obviously not polished, but I think it's good enough for what we're trying to do. I'm gonna run the other. Now this wiring setup goes to the actual switches inside, and I've got it going. Just running over here. You'll see there's like a big rubber boot going inside the chassis, and that's where I'm gonna put it. Not saying it's ideal or great or whatever, but hey, it fits, and I don't have to drill another hole. And so I've started to tear out the dash. As you can see, I'm not sure if you can see, where I have my switches mounted. You see, just a real simple setup in here. I had to cut those bolts off because they were rubbing against this, and I'm able to get this. I think it's some kind of Molex connector. I was able to get that, I guess, where it needs to go, for better words. Now this is I've tapped into this before, and this is like an accessory power. This may be the yellow here may be the one I need to run. However, I found a schematic. I can't find the schematic I've used previously, so I just googled it real quick. The one that I found says that the run and the auxiliary or accessories, whatever. Sorry about something like that. Will run off this black and white one. You can see my thumb. As a real quick. I'm gonna tap in for my lights. I'm gonna tap into this green wire right here out front. I'm gonna use another T-tap. I'm actually gonna go into this wire here because I have easier access to it, and I had to get to that. I had to get to this to use for some my speedometer, my tachometer, speedometer type stuff. That digital dash stuff I added. So that's fairly current. My biggest question is this actually the right wire? According to the schematic I saw, I think this black and white is the right wire that I can run into. As far as trigger 2 or trigger 1, I'm sorry. There's a third trigger on this that I haven't decided how I want to use it. Part of me wants to put it on the emergency flashers. Another part of me wants to put it on parking, so like maybe you go all amber or something of that nature if I get some of those lights. So I'm not sure which way I'm gonna go. Right now I'm just gonna get the lights on as a trigger, and I'm gonna get to the ignition as a trigger and go from there. Like if I was in an emergency or something like that, I could always use the Bluetooth maybe and trigger over. I don't know how I want to do it. So I mean, I can get to strobe features as well, but I don't want to blind people, and I don't even have the lights yet. One of the big things that I was going to install before was, what I was going to run off this was the air compressor. I got the air compressor wiring harness. That's, I think for a vehicle like this where I've already got where I can get the switches, I have 3 switches here. I'm just going to run air compressor, front and rear locker, I believe. These are something that, as far as, you don't need a strobe and air compressor, you don't need a strobe a locker. I mean, even though it's cool as can be, I think, for some reason I like the idea of it. I'm gonna let this control my radio. I'm gonna do maybe an auxiliary. I might do an inverter. I do like front, stuff like that, lights. So this is basically going to do my lights. And anyway, here's where I ran the Molex connector through. And I'm going to route this through the dash, and I'm going to try to get it to be a little bit less of a rat's nest, but unfortunately that's just what this has turned into. I mean, I still have an air compressor I've got to install, and all the wiring. I've got a radio. I've got all kinds. Well, I don't even have, and I actually took out the regular radio, so I've simplified it some. But I've, in many other ways, I've increased some of the stuff that's got to go off of here. I could actually remove a lot of these wires and fuse boxes and things like that and simplify everything, but it's a little too complex I'm confident on working on. So I don't want to do it, because if I screw that up, then, you know, without a vehicle for a while. But as far as just tapping into a couple things here and there, it's pretty simple for me to do. I'm hoping by starting to run all the accessories back over to this SP9100 that that'll be good enough. I had planned to actually run some of the stuff into this box. It's a pretty cool box of relays and stuff, but actually I wasn't going to do it because at one point, because it wouldn't run the air compressor. Now I'm rethinking this, and I may at least throw the lockers in here, but I probably won't do that at first, because I don't know, like I have to think about it, and really that's what it comes down to. I know for certain that I've got the relays that come with the lockers, so I don't have to worry about it too much. But I've got a lot of stuff to get in here, and I really don't have a lot to even wire in yet. The only thing I can really gonna wire in is the radio, because even this light that I've got up here, I just stuck that in there just to test it. I want to see if that little light would do anything, and it's fine, but ultimately it's not what I'm gonna go with. I'm gonna test around with some different. I'm gonna go with a pretty mid-range US type manufacturer, I think, for that up here. I may even go grab a couple of cheap lights just to play with this SP9100. There's a lot of places I can put lights on this rack to it, but I think I'm gonna get a spotlight that I can have here, mount here with like a quick, kind of like a. Well, it's kind of like a little clamp or whatever, that I can do that for temporary use. And I want to use that here, and I'm just going to get some sort of like Anderson power poles or some NC4 connectors, and just, or the what do they call these other special connectors that see something like the Deutz connector or something like that. So a lot of decisions I haven't made, probably should have already made. Heck, now starting to look at these lights. At one point I was just planning to use lights like I have here, which they actually do work. This is a super cheap light bar, but it faded. It's got some other things I don't really care for. I want to go with a fairly high end 20-something inch light at the top of the rack. I'm gonna probably eliminate this. I don't know what I want to put in its place yet, but yeah, that's an update for right now. Got a rat's nest to work through, and it'll be a slightly better rat's nest by the time I'm done. I might admit that I did drop this down just so I could add some of this wire to this. I don't know what you want to call it, wire loom, something like that. Yeah, got some time to go. Got the dashboard ripped out. Well, almost ripped out. Got to finish the rest of that and then route my wire. And at least I can get this connected. I can get my trigger, a couple of my triggers done. The light trigger, ignition. Yeah, ignition trigger. This is just trigger 1, I think they call it. So I don't know if anybody y'all watch this and want to chime in about what's a cool thing to trigger off of, let me know.